Hello learners, welcome to Learn to Empower. In this series, we are looking into the Unit 5 of our Ethics series. In this Unit 5, we are going to look into the moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. In the first starting of our series, we will be starting in this particular video about the Indian thinkers. Then we'll be progressively moving towards the thinkers from the western part of the world, where you will encounter certain thinkers which includes Immanuel Kant, right, which include John Rawls, Jeremy Bentham, etc. We'll be looking here, right? The next after this we'll be looking into the governance part of our ethics. In this particular video, we'll be primarily focusing upon the Indian thinkers. The first and foremost Indian thinker that we can give is the Gautama Buddha. Right now, everybody knows that what is the philosophy of the Gautama Buddha. He advocated for the middle path. Right, he advocated for following compassion, mindfulness, and ethical conduct and well-being of the others. Right, he always talks about the peace in the world, how the peace can be achieved. Now, he is not looking for the external peace, etc. He is always thinking about the inner peace. Right, the peace here means the inner peace, the salvation that is required. You might wonder that when you study the Western thinkers, they were giving the ethical point of view from the external view, which means what they are looking for the ethical conduct not from the religious angle. But when you talk about Indian way of system, we always go for the spiritual way. So this is a difference between understanding the Western point of thinking the ethical values and the Indian point of thinking the ethical values. Whenever you look the thinkers like Gautam Buddha, Mahavira, etc., they give the inner feeling has to change, the inner soul has to change, the inner meaning of the life has to change. Right, this is how they will give the values of the ethics. Now look into the Mahavira. As you know, the Mahavira is the 24th Tirthankara. Right, before him there were 23 Tirthankaras. He was the 24th Tirthankara. Obviously, he given the ideology same like the 23rd Tirthankara, except one where he varies. Right, where he talks about many things, which includes ahimsa, non-stealing, celibacy has to be taken. Non-stealing, yes, celibacy, truthfulness, non-attachment, etc. He advocated for the liberation of souls. The main point of the Jainism, or what to say, the Mahavira's teaching is that the Salaikana. Right, now you can observe this Salaikana, etc. is a fast unto death, where the Gandhiji was also adopted over the period of time in his mass movement against the Britishers. Right, this is how the thinkers have influenced our thinkers as well. The modern day thinkers that we see today is one way or the other has been influenced by our ancient thinkers. Now the next is the Chanakya, the most important personality that we are looking into. Chanakya, his other name is what? Vishnugupta. He was the political or the legal advisor to Chandragupta Maurya. Right, he has given many theses or many volumes of literature that talks about how the country can be governed, how the country has to govern, how the people should be governed, how the taxation should be done. And the first and foremost that we look into is the Rajniti. That is, he talks about political times, how the king should behave. The king should have some knowledge. The king should have knowledge about Veda. The king should have knowledge about how the administration should take place. Now the king should also have idea about acquiring allies, managing relationship, and using diplomacy, etc. Right, this is how he has given in his political thesis. The next he gives about the Dandaniti, which talks about justice and law, how justice has to be given to the people, how the king has to behave while giving the justice or delivering the justice. According to him, a king should be what? Impartial. A king should follow impartiality, and a ruler should not favor any particular group or individual. So this is very important to understand how back then, 4th century BC itself, the people are thinking that administration, how it has to be done. Now the same things we follow today, but not the king today we have, but it is a democratic system that we have established. But the philosophy that has been given is definitely a game changer for our modern day thinkers or modern day administration of the country. Right, the next is the Chanakya's way of writing only, that is Arthashastra, which talks about economics, how the taxation should be done, how the revenue collection should be taken care. Right, if the taxation should be levied more or not. If it is more, then the people will not pay the tax. So there should be ideal way or ideal range where the taxation can be levied. Next he talks about Mitra Shakti. Mitra Shakti is nothing but acquiring allies in the nearby countries. You need to be acquiring allies of the nearby countries, right, so that when there is a war, the nearby neighbors will come in support of you. Like for example, India's relation with Nepal, India's relations with Bhutan, India's relation with Sri Lanka, etc., can be understood from this Mitra Shakti doctrine. Next, the last he talks about, not the last but the main important point that he talks about is Sama Dama Danda Beda, which means he talks about this is the four pillars of the statecraft, which means what? Sama refers to the peaceful method. If you have any conflict within the administration or within the people or within the citizen, then you talk in a peaceful manner, go and pacify them. If they are not doing that, okay, dana offer gifts to the people, or gifts, what they want, okay, ask them. Next, danda, if they are also not listening, then danda, use the force. Then if they are not also listening to the force, then divide and rule. Very simple. Whether we have used this philosophy in implementation or not, but Britishers definitely used against Indians, right? Britishers applied all the principles of Chanakya and implemented, and they were able to rule India successfully for 200 years. The next, the most important we have given here, which includes leadership and ethics. He talks about planning and strategy, education and knowledge, and personality development. He gives many treatises, or I would say the theories about how the country has to govern. The next thinker that we come across in the ancient time is the Kapila. Kapila is the most important personality, where he was the founder of the Samkhya philosophy. Like as I said before, the Indian thinker is always looking into the inner engineering or inner feeling about the people, how it can be modified so that to achieve the ethical values. Right? He has given in details. Anyhow, I'm not going to details of Kapila, Yajnavalkya, because we'll study this in the ancient art and culture, etc. in those subjects. Just understand that there are many thinkers that existed in India in the ancient times. That how the thinkers have given the ethical values to the society. Similar goes with Yajnavalkya. He is important for what? For giving the Upanishad, where he talks about spiritual wisdom, self-realization, and ultimate reality, that is Brahman. Right. The next is Patanjali. Patanjali is one who given the Yoga Shastras, where he talks about how the mindfulness meditations that can be implemented for the calmness of the mind. Yes, and he also gives about the postures, etc. Which means what? This is also a kind of ethical value, where you are controlling your brain. The brain will moves here and there with the leaps and bounds, but we need to control that brain thought process, and we need to channelize that process. The next personality is Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna is very famous because he's also follower of Buddhism, where he also talks about Madhyamika, middle path, etc., where he also written many books about the about the chemical things, etc., where he talks about many sutras, or there will be many chemical formulas that existed to convert a metal into gold. Likewise, he has given, but he is famously known for the following the Mahayana Buddhism, right? By this slide, we are coming end of this particular video, where we talked about thinkers from the ancient India. The next video will be looking into the medieval India, then progressively into modern India, then we'll certainly move into the Western thinkers, right? Till then, take care. Thank you.